Welcome to another Nonsense Wars set review. Before we go into the set stats, I'm just gonna guess based on things that I've observed on the box. Now, after looking at enough LEGO sets, you kind of get a sense for this kind of thing. So, for example, this is a Technic set with a 4-digit set number, and looking at sort of the parts and the way this box looks, and the fact that it's power functions, this set is probably from the early 2010s. That's my guess. That's called Logging Truck, 9397 Logging Truck, and with 1,308 pieces and also a Power Functions motor and battery box, I'm going to guess this set retailed for probably $150. All right, let's see how close I was. Okay, this set is from 2012 and retailed for $140. I guess that's inflation for you. I was right about when the set came out. And here's a thing that's not that common anymore, but this set has a B model, which used to be standard fare for Technic sets. And in fact, there's no information whatsoever about the main model on the back of the box. All right, so inside this are a lot of non-numbered bags. So that didn't become a thing until later. So some frames, all of the axles and axle joiners, sack of gears, a lot of 16-tooth gears. That's kind of weird. This panel, and then these form a log. There's no tires that go with them. Could have been an opportunity for the B model. Tires loose in the box. This specific mold, I think, is pretty old. I think these are the same one used in the barcode multi-set. Beans, very own bag. At this point, this part has changed to this shape already. Engine bits, pins, more pins. Actually, these bags are identical. Even more pins. Turntables and drive rings. This bag is actually identical to this bag, I think. They look very similar. Two identical bags. Lastly, we have a new in bag Power Functions M motor and AA battery box. We also have the instructions, which are shipped with a cardboard protected thing in their bag. So the bags don't have numbers. So what are you supposed to do? Well, you're going to do what everyone did before that, which the booklet helpfully tells you that you shouldn't put them on the carpet. So we're just going to be rebels here and do that to some extent. But you should sort all the parts into similar categories so you can find them easily. So here we are on step 12. And we have opened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a sub bag. 8, 9 bags. The only unique bag we haven't opened yet is this one. But at the rate we're going, I think we're gonna have to open that pretty soon. All right, we've now turned the page, and we had to open the last bag to get this axle. So it's pretty common in Technic sets now to have a structure like this, where you have a number 2 connector, sort of pinned in place, and then an axle that passes through several sets of this. And this is a little bit of an issue because you could imagine that this axle could just get kinked up like that, and now you have basically stress or bend in your axle, and that's going to add a bunch of friction. Let's take a look at this step in this subassembly where they take a black pin and jam it in here. That's not particularly remarkable, but in a modern set where you have something like this, where it's 3 holes and a pin on each side, you would use a pin that joins the 2 halves. The pin looks like it's this, but it has a cross axle there. So at the time this set came out, the non-clutched, or the clutch 16-tooth gear, which doesn't have a cross axle hole, has 2 faces. One which has the fittings for the drive ring, and the other, which is flat. Modern ones have the fitting for the drive ring on both sides. This step in the instructions distinguishes between the two faces and tells you to put it on a certain way. But we don't understand why that has to be. All it's doing is passing power to that gear. So this is the way they ask for it in the instructions. But you'll see that it also works this way. So in this step, they ask for a triangle. At this point, the triangle mold has changed, but the instructions haven't been updated to catch up yet. Well, better late than never to tell you that they're the same. We've just gotten to step 122, where you build these assemblies, and then you place them there, and you push the axle in, which might be a non-disassemblable step. So here's the assembly. We push that axle in here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And now, how would you take this apart? You can't grab the axle. This can't slide this way because, well, two reasons. One, all this stuff in the way, but also there's a black pin right there. So you'd have to maybe stretch this like that, or rotate it very firmly like that, and then pump it a few times to pull the axle out? We're not sure. In addition to this turntable, two functions must pass through the center to be controlled from the base. One of them is this axle, and to pass a second one, you have to have a concentric axle, which is accomplished with the driving ring. Instead of shifting, both ends lock in, so there's a bit of slop, but this stack is there and transmits power all the way through. In this step, we take a 15 length beam and snap it into position here, and it appears to make a nice structural truss. But counting the holes, this isn't actually possible. This is a 15 length beam, which means the distance between that hole and that hole is 14, and there's no Pythagorean triangle with a 14 on the hypotenuse. So it's 5, 13, 14. So how does this work? This 2-length beam actually means that there's slop in the assembly like that. So it's not really a triangle or even structural for that matter. All right, let's go through the features of the truck. First off, non-powered function features. You can open and close both doors and adjust the mirrors. You can also tip the hood forward so you can take a look at the engine. The engine runs when you roll the truck, and you can control the steering from on top of the cab. Now let's take a look at the powered features. One thing that's interesting on this truck, and I think pretty common for power function set, is that the direction of the function is controlled using the slider on the battery box. So, for example, we'll start the motor, and nothing's engaged right now, so nothing will move. But if I want to lower the outriggers, I go there, and then I can stop. But to raise the outriggers again, I have to switch the direction on the battery box. Because there's only 2 clutches, the features are split on 2 sides of the truck. So on this side, we have the features to luff the arm and also to move this joint on the arm. So let's take a look at that. That's the wrong way. So that raises the base of the arm, and the other direction extends the front joint on the arm. On the other side, we already showed you the outriggers. There is the other direction of that switch controls the rotation of the arm. So that way, and if I want to change the direction, I have to use the battery box switch. Let's try to pick up this log that they gave us. There. Now, to actually grab this log, you have to use the last 2 features, which are controlled by the knobs here. This one spins the gripper around, and this one opens and closes it like that. Okay, so now I've got a good grip, and I can raise the arm. Not the joint I wanted to use. This one. There. Then I want to bring it in just a little bit, I think. That. Then rotate back towards the center of the truck. See, it's a little fiddly with the direction. That. Then use this knob to align the log correctly. Then I need to lower the arm, bring it in a little bit, lower it some more. Then I can loosen the grip, arm, and continue on.